Welcome to Yahoo Sports Daily. She's Caroline Fenton. I'm Jason Fitz. I always tell you at the beginning, we're rack, stacked, and packed and ready to roll. We are. We have breaking news right out of the gate as we start today's show. We have a lot we're going to get to, but we get straight to the news that has absolutely got everybody chasing their tails this morning, trying to get the latest, greatest information. It looks like a verbal agreement has come to. We now know that the WNBPA and the WNBA have come to a verbal agreement. Cass Negley joining us right out of the gates. We're throwing the confetti in the streets, Cass. We joked, I should say, when we were all together this weekend. You never knew when this was going to hit. Thank you for joining us so early. Your immediate reaction to the news when you saw it this morning?
I think just an exhale. Every morning has been like rushing to the phone, seeing what's going on, checking in with people. I'm just excited that we can move on to the next steps. I'm glad that they got this done for the players, for the fans, for everyone involved, and we can keep moving on with the 30th anniversary season. That should have all the confetti, right?
Oh, 1000%. It deserves a parade in the streets. It deserves confetti. Everybody, I did read in an Annie Costabile's article that they shared a champagne cheers at about 3 o'clock in the morning. I think we all deserve a little bit of a champagne cheers after what this process has looked like. But Cass, we do know as of today, since the CBA has been agreed to, at least for right now, there is not expected to be any sort of truncating of the season. The season will go off on May 8th as planned. Training camp should go off as planned. Expansion drafts and the collegiate draft should go as planned. So now that we know that the season, at least as of today, should go off as planned, what is the biggest hurdle that the WNBA has avoided in getting this agreement done this morning?
I mean, the big one is delaying things, right? Like not having a season, starting to cancel things. I know when we had talked earlier in the week, preseason has become a very big deal. Like fans go to games, they buy out a lot of these tickets, they want to watch it on TV, it's broadcast now. The Fever and the Liberty are playing in one of those preseason games. You don't want to have to cancel that if you're the Fever or the Liberty or you're the league kind of building off all of this momentum. It is going to be a very tight window to get all of this done. And I think that's the stressful thing about this, but they always knew that that was going to be the case. I think if you're the league and the players right now, you're thinking, all right, well, everything that has been planned for this year will continue. And that is a very good thing.
It almost feels like a mad dash too, right, Cass? Because now, even though nothing's going to be disrupted, there are over 100 free agents. There's an expansion draft. Like the amount of work that the WNBA has to get done, this almost feels like the easiest piece because there is so much chaos left in front, especially with expansion. I can't stress this enough. I mean, there are 2 new teams coming to this league. How does all of this get impacted?
Well, the timeline that they've kind of set out and a lot of people had acquired in the past few weeks will start on April 1st between the 1st and the 6th, an expansion draft. That's 2 weeks from now. We don't know what that looks like. That's part of the CBA that they negotiated. So we're still waiting to figure that out. Immediately afterward, you send out qualifying offers to free agents. As you said, every single veteran is a free agent with the exception of Lexi Brown and Kalani Brown. That is a lot of top-end talent. And while many of them are expected to stay with their teams, they still have to negotiate numbers, right? And they have to negotiate numbers under this new salary cap that they just agreed to, that general managers and front offices are just now probably learning about, if they are learning about it at 9 a.m. Eastern. Immediately after that, you have the signing period that's going to cover the collegiate draft on April 13th, and then training camps the day after the signing period ends. Like, you're right, mad dash.
Truly a mad dash. And I was doing a mad dash this morning to figure out what the numbers were and what the terms that were agreed upon. And we don't have exact concrete numbers. We don't have a full view of exactly what this new CBA looks like, but some numbers that have been reported. The salary cap is reportedly supposed to jump from $1.5 million to $6.2. The Supermax jumps from $250,000 to $1.3. The average player salary expected to jump from $120,000 to $570,000. Those are massive increases. Your initial reaction when you saw those increases in salary and salary cap?
Yeah, these were the most recent numbers that we have, so they could be different. The salary cap has kind of incrementally moved a little bit in each WNBA offer, but this is in line with what we've been seeing for many, many years. The WNBA is on the upward trajectory, and Kathy Engelbert has been very open that once they sign that media rights deal, that's what gets them the money. I think maybe lost in all of this right now because CBA has been contentious and there has been kind of infighting and fighting between the sides is that we will see the first $1 million women's basketball player in the WNBA in terms of salary, not endorsements, in terms of salary. And that is a pretty big deal for a league that started way back in 1996 out of the Olympics. And as players talked about to reporters on site, this is, you're going to feel the leveling up as a player. Like you are a professional athlete. And I think the salary numbers very much speak to that.
Guys, let's just have a real moment here, though. Think about how difficult this is. Like just taking all of our fandom and reporting heads off for a second. You've got all of these players that now have to go to the market table and try and figure out what their market is in an elevated salary cap with elevated, like all of these things as you guys are talking about. I just keep thinking about what's it like for all of these free agents that are now going to come to the table and say, well, there's more money to spend, so I'm worth more money. But how much more money? Every team is now going to have to suddenly build a new roster with an understanding. Not every player is going to be $1 million player either. So this becomes something that I got to feel like agents are going to get really contentious. Trying to figure out where some of these free agents land is going to be really contentious just because establishing value. If we're talking about a company that makes widgets, if suddenly the entire world knows that company makes 10 times more money, everybody's going to go to it and say, hey, we want more money. This feels like the middle class of the WNBA right now is going to have a really tough time trying to figure out who's in the middle class and where their value falls.
Yeah, I mean, that's been a huge conversation for years. I'll be interested to see the intricacies of the salary numbers. Are there differences? Are there other levels to hit? I do think, though, that in terms of this compared to the previous one, at least from the numbers that we see, one of the things is that it just seems like the percentages have increased proportionally to what they were. Now, the problem in the last one was I think salaries went up like 80% and the salary cap went up 30. So maybe there are stipulations that protect the middle class, because I know that was important, especially to Alicia Clark, who spoke about that overnight.
And look, we should be celebrating this. This is a very exciting day for the league, for the players, for the future of the sport of women's basketball. But of course, there are always trickle-down effects or domino effects from things like this. So let's say the average salary is hovering right around $500,000, give or take. What does this do for off-season leagues that players went to for supplemental income? So Unrivaled, Project B, AU, playing overseas. What does that mean for those leagues if your average player doesn't necessarily need supplemental income?
So there are a lot of players who will continue to play overseas or in these other leagues. I think one of the big things is the WNBA season is still very short. You're looking at May to mid-October, say. That's a long off season. They want to get in work elsewhere. So I think for now, you're not going to see a ton of pullback, but you're right. There are players who are going to say, well, if I'm now making $500,000 and I used to make $70,000, do I really need to do this? I can pay a trainer and work out with them. Now, the other aspect of this is, to my knowledge, and we don't have the CBA in our hands yet, prioritization has not been a sticking point. And that's that rule that says, as of, a couple of years ago, you had to report on time to training camp. In the future, I am sure the owners are going to try and make it so that players cannot play in other leagues at all. But for right now, it seems like while some players may decide no longer to do those off-season things, I don't think it will have as big of an effect as it will the next time we're negotiating a CBA, which I don't even want to talk about right now.
Yeah, well, I mean, my God, I hope we got a long term. I can't handle the next one. Cass, we talked when we were talking yesterday about sort of the cloud over the women's college athletes right now, trying to figure out where they're going to go. for all of the players for expansion, 2 new teams coming in now. Expansion draft, as you mentioned, will be a few weeks away at this point. Do we anticipate that most of the players that are going to start filling those roster spots across this league are players that are currently long out of college and players that have been waiting for their opportunity to get into the W, or do we anticipate that a lot of those roster spots are going to come from college kids?
I think it's a really good question. I think what we've seen in the past couple of years is a lot of international talent either coming back to the WNBA or entering the WNBA because of this worldwide scouting. I know when Caroline and I spoke with Sandy Brondello way back in December, she was talking about kind of filling her expansion team in Toronto with free agents. And now she's will become a legendary coach. I think maybe already is to a lot of people, has won championships, but she can have those relationships with free agents. In terms of collegiate players, though, there are more spots and there are more positions for them now that expansion keeps happening. So I think when we're looking forward towards the draft, you're going to see more of those names be on the first round, stick on rosters. And I hope, and the players have talked a lot about this, be able to work their way onto a roster. The other aspect of that is for the first time, if it is codified in this CBA, they're talking about adding 2 developmental players per roster. I think that will be a good spot for collegiate players, maybe more so than international players.
And we were just talking a couple days ago about how maybe insecure some college players might feel about what the future of the WNBA looks like, what their future looks like. Now they're just swimming in cash. They're thinking, woohoo, I'm rich, I'm rich, I'm rich. You know, I've got all the questions that I had are answered. The only question that remains is where am I going to be playing next year? Because it's not as simple as to, okay, we agreed to a CPA. We don't snap our fingers and now all of a sudden it's, you know, written in stone and it's enacted into WNBA law. So what comes next? Now that we have an agreement, what now?
The lawyers and the sides are going to come to very specific terms. They're going to go over all of this paperwork. It's going to go to the players and the WNBA Board of Governors for final ratification. When that happens, I would assume the CBA will then be shared in full and we can continue to move on with the off season. I think I was thinking about this morning. I also think what's really interesting about this round versus the past round is that the last time they did this, they could kind of keep a lid on it a little bit and go on Good Morning America and announce it together. The landscape and the coverage of the WNBA is so different now that they announced that they had come to terms, and we will slowly start to see things as they come to ratify it.
How important was it in your mind to get it done in a way that didn't cause the cancellation of the opening weekend of games?
I personally feel like it was massive. I think any time, no matter what kind of goodwill you have with fans, if you are missing out on games and games that people have come to love, right? Like they adore the WNBA, they take their families. These are sellouts now. These are not little rinky-dink, you know, small town things. Like this is a big deal. Anytime you miss that, it impacts fans and how they feel about your league and what they will do with their money going forward. And we all know that for a lot of people, money is really tight. I think they absolutely had to avoid missing games, preseason games included. And so I'm glad for their sake that they did.
Yeah, preseason games, by the way, still make money for the owners. Everybody makes money on preseason. Yeah. Fans all hate. Media always complain about preseason games. They still make money. And in this modern era, it feels like that's going to be important for everybody. Cass, you are a rock star. Thanks for coming on. Be sure to check her out. She'll be writing about it all day. I know that this is the beginning of a long day for you, Cass, but we appreciate you coming on and giving us your expertise, my friend.
Thank you both. Thanks for having me.
That's a big day for the W. We'll keep covering it. But coming up next, last night was a huge night for baseball. Venezuela, king of the world. We'll tell you about it next.
You had 27 points in your third game. What do you remember from that night?
Oh man, it was great. Once the first one drops, like I was like, okay, we're good. We're good to go. Then the second one, then the third one. And then you get to like this mode where it's kind of like unconscious. Like, it feels like practice in a way. It was just like every time I shot it, it was like I was outside playing on just like my mini hoop, you know what I mean? Outside in the front yard. It also, I think, gave my teammates confidence too. Like, damn, he probably can shoot. You know what I mean? So, we should get him the ball.
What do you think is your best route and what is your favorite route to run?
I feel like it's probably like a stop route or something.
That's a good answer.
Like a stop route. My favorite route to run, I like to run digs.
This is from early in your rookie season. That was the best one there, was the dig route. So I think you're doing pretty well there.
Mm-hmm.
I like that. Okay, good answer. That was very validating for me personally, and I'm glad that you feel that way. So, okay, you mentioned...
I gave you validation.
You gave me validation, bro.
Like that.
Bro, that's what this is all about.
I like that.
What was your impression of him? Do you feel like you have a friendship with Giannis now?
I feel like he was just my friend. Like, I didn't even see him as just a basketball player, Giannis Antetokounmpo. I was just like that's just my guy. Cause we were just chilling. Like, he took me to his home. He took me to his first he did his first dunk in his neighborhood. So like, he was just showing me around.
So
and I think
cool.
we still check up on each other.
Very
I just need to go to one of his games, which I promised him.
Team Venezuela gets to stand at the edge of the boat and scream, "I'm king of the world," as they have now won the World Baseball Classic. Team USA's only won once in 6 WBC appearances. Last night was a big game. USA comes away with the silver. Venezuela comes away with the gold. USA's bats just never got going, Caroline. Throughout the course of this game, they couldn't make any contact. They couldn't seem to get it cracked. They weren't able to crack the code of Venezuela. Congratulations, first and foremost, to Venezuela for winning the gold in this. They were clearly last night the better team. Take nothing away from that. They were the better team. What's the level of disappointment you're feeling today for the result for Team USA?
It's massive. It's a massive disappointment. I said on this show yesterday that it would be an epic failure if the United States lost that game. And I don't change my mind. Now, that's not taking anything away from Venezuela. I do want to get into the Venezuela side of things in just a moment. Just want to focus on Team USA right now. You mentioned the lackluster offense last night. It's been a lackluster, brutal offense to watch in a majority of the entirety of this tournament. The vibes surrounding Team USA as a whole have been so off and so weird. Well, Mark DeRosa not knowing that they had to win that final game to advance in pool play. That's just embarrassing. That's so embarrassing. Going back all the way to the beginning of this tournament when Aaron Judge gave that really weird pump-up speech in the locker room. It was weird at the time. It's even weirder now considering, how off this team looked throughout the entirety of it. And if you just want to look last night, I mean, if you're a Yankee fan, you're probably waking up this morning like, see, I told you guys. This is the issue with Aaron Judge. Aaron Judge 0 for 4 last night. And in a 3-1 count, a 3-2 count, I believe, 2-2 count, whatever it was, a hitter's count. He just watches a fastball right down the middle of the plate and doesn't move his bat. Swing the bat, Aaron. You got 2 strikes. Swing the bat. So he was 0 for 4. Alex Bregman 0 for 3. Bobby Witt Jr. 0 for 3 with a walk. Will Smith 0 for 3. I mean, they could not get the bats moving. Now, credit to Venezuela's pitching because they were lights out last night. But this has been an issue for Team USA throughout the entirety of this tournament. They scored 6 runs against Mexico. So the most runs they scored in any game throughout the entirety of this. When you look at the juiced up lineup that they put out there and you can't make contact with the ball, I mean, that is a huge indictment on a team that had sky-high expectations, Fitzy.
Yeah, but it's a team, to your point, that had sky-high expectations that never met them throughout the course of this entire thing. To your point, this was a disjointed, at best. I'm being polite when I say disjointed effort by Team USA. And frankly, even DeRosa after the game last night when he was talked about, like, uninspired is another great way to describe it. DeRosa afterwards essentially saying, hey, sometimes you're just cold. Sometimes you're on a cold streak, and it's going to happen, especially in a small sample size. It's not okay. That's not the acceptable answer. And if you are on a cold streak, if your entire roster is on a cold streak, then at least come out with the thunder of the gods with your emotions. Let us see something from you. And I think what's hard is, like, I'll never root against Team USA. This was an easy team to just not root for. I mean, most of us are not going to sit here and say, well, I'm rooting against them for whatever reason. It just didn't draw me. Team USA, and this is what's really, I think, amazing about the WBC. The WBC drew me in. I found myself wanting to watch baseball right now at a time when baseball is usually not significant. I found myself wanting to watch the chaos. We've talked a lot about the energy. I was okay not watching Team USA. Like, even last night as I sat there with this game on, eventually I moved this game to my second TV so I could watch UMBC in a play-in game in the NCAA tournament because, frankly, American baseball in the WBC was at best boring, and at worst they felt indifferent. And if they feel indifferent to it, I feel indifferent to it. Everything that made WBC magical was missing from Team USA for me. So what I saw last night was actually, I think, the right ending to this whole tournament, because when you play uninspired, don't give a damn baseball night in and night out, I don't want to see you come in for the championship and suddenly throw out then the emotion that we've been waiting for the whole time. I thought what we saw was the perfect encapsulation of who Team USA was through this entire thing. Stars everywhere, yes. Big names everywhere, yes. Brand names that we would usually flock to see play October baseball, sure. All of those things. And at the same time, while they were on the field, none of it resonated. They didn't seem to resonate with each other. We didn't seem to resonate with them. None of it connected. There was just a difference. There was a disconnect for Team USA with each other, on the field, with the baseball they played, and frankly, with the audience involved in this. So, again, kudos to Venezuela, because they outright just damn earned this win. But I think this entire WBC process and experience has been a failure for Team USA, not simply because of the outcome, but because of the way that the outcome looked every step of the way getting there.
And the fact that they needed some help to even get to this position. Like, they needed Team Italy to whoop Mexico's behind in order to just get out of pool play. That's not the expectation for this team. That wasn't the expectation for this star-studded team. And look, was this the greatest roster that Team USA could have constructed? No, it wasn't. But I don't think it needed to get to that point where you had every single future Hall of Famer on this roster, or every single future Hall of Famer out there on the mound, in order to play inspiring baseball, a fun brand of baseball. But I want to give so much credit to Venezuela, because going into that game, I thought, man, if they don't win this game, if they're not, celebrating a win, if they don't have the gold medals around their necks, I'm going to be so bummed out. I'm going to be so upset. And of course, you want your country to win. I want Team USA to win everything. I want them to win the gold medal game in the men's and the women's hockey. I want the Team USA to win the World Baseball Classic. But I didn't feel that last night, Fitzy. I didn't feel frustration, or I didn't feel like a sore loser. I didn't feel upset. Of course, I wanted my team to win, but watching what that meant to Venezuela, I thought was so heartwarming. I thought it was so special. Eduardo Rodriguez, who was the starting pitcher for Venezuela last night, currently plays for the Diamondbacks, won a World Series in 2018 with the Boston Red Sox. He was asked after the game what that meant to him. He said, look, I've won a World Series. This is so much better than that. This is the greatest moment of my life. Do you think Mookie Betts would have gotten up to, speaking to a reporter at the podium after the game and said, this is better than winning back-to-back World Series? I don't think so. I don't know if it meant that much to Team USA that it did to Team Venezuela. The team that none of us were talking about going into this tournament. We were talking about USA, Japan, Dominican Republic, the most stacked rosters with the biggest stars in Major League Baseball across the globe. We weren't talking about Venezuela. They probably felt like the underdog. They probably felt like they had a chip on their shoulder. And for, to watch these players fall to their knees and they're in tears and they're hugging each other, the glory in which they were basking, it clearly meant more to them than I believe it would have meant to Team USA. So to watch that, even though it wasn't my country, even though it wasn't the team that I was pulling for throughout the entirety of this process, it really warmed my heart. And it was really special to see them achieve this kind of glory.
I think as you say that, it hits me that sort of the gold medal standard, pun intended, that we saw from the passion of the Olympic hockey teams. And you think about just the way it felt, knowing that I felt like anybody that lost the gold medal matchup between Canada and Team USA in hockey, there it felt like even when they went home, there was going to be a sadness to that, right? Like something that they carried, like a burden that they carried with them. I can't believe we didn't get it done. And it almost that heartbreaking athlete moment of I can't believe we didn't get it done. That's what we felt like we watched on the line in the Olympics just a few weeks ago. So to your point, I felt like even watching the game last night, it just felt like a regular season baseball game to Team USA. It felt like the sort of game where, to your point, those guys are going to get on their respective planes, they're going to go to their respective teams, and then it'll be like, yeah, man, didn't go the way we wanted, but all right, let's get ready for the season. And that's fine. I understand compartmentalization in that process, but certainly when we just went off of an experience where we watched athletes that have accomplished so much in their respective sports feel like everything in their life came down to, can we win this game? What will matter to my country if we win this game? That's what we just experienced with the Olympics. That's what, to your point, I felt last night from Venezuela. Like you felt every single inning a little bit more of that sort of emotion coming out of them last night that I didn't feel matched by Team USA. And I say it all the time. So often, especially when you have like teams in any sport, it's the give a damn, it's the extra piece, it's that certain thing you can't quantify, it's that what energy did you bring to your game that night that makes the difference, and Team USA got beaten that way. I think what makes that hard for me is we just saw the opposite with Team USA taking on Canada in the U.S., or I should say in the Olympics for the gold medal. We saw such a level of passion that we didn't see from this Team USA team. I think it's part of why it just couldn't and didn't connect.
And I think that is what was my favorite thing about the World Baseball Classic. And we talked about this yesterday. I feel like there was a level of investment and a level of care and a level of popularity for this year's World Baseball Classic that I don't think I've ever seen before, at least that I don't remember. And I think one of the reasons why is because we could all resonate with the amount of emotion that we saw throughout the entirety of this tournament. I'm talking happy emotion. I'm talking meaningful emotion. I'm talking about espresso shots in the dugout from Team Italy. I'm talking about bat flips from the Dominican Republic. I'm talking about the dances and the cheers that we saw on the concourses in Miami from Team Mexico, Team Venezuela, Team DR, all of their fans. But the level of happiness, the level of emotion, the level of investment, the level of fun and celebration that we saw from this year's WBC, that's what drew all of us in. Because that's intoxicating. When you see just a sheer level of human emotion, you want to be a part of that. You want to be invested into it. So I thought the emotion from Team Venezuela just was the perfect cherry on top of what was a very special tournament, a very emotional tournament for all of us. And I'm not talking emotional just in tears, emotional just in terms of you feel something. So I thought that was the perfect cherry on top of all of it, and why I didn't feel a level of disappointment, because it was just so cool to see how much it meant to this entire team. But it doesn't cover up the fact that I think the two things can be true at once. It was so special to see how much it meant to these players in Team Venezuela. It doesn't take away the level of embarrassment that Team USA should be feeling today. They fell wildly short of expectation, and I think that's the understatement of the century.
Yeah, the World Baseball Classic could not have been a bigger win, but Team USA within the World Baseball Classic was a fail. So now they're going to have to figure out how to recalibrate and get that. I rarely say, if you watched our Olympic coverage, I made a passionate plea over and over and over again to never make a silver medal a fail. Being number 2 is not in the world at anything is not a fail. It's hard in this moment with that team, the way it was constructed, with those expectations and the way they acted throughout the process, not to feel like Team USA left something on the table, and that's why it feels like a fail to me. Never a fail when you're hanging out with fantasy baseball. It is back. Playing is easier and more fun than ever. You can get your crew together. You can play with your friends today. All you got to do is download the Yahoo Fantasy app. You can join or create a league right now. The Yahoo Fantasy app gets your baseball in. Never too early, never too late. We'll make sure that you're caught up every single step of the way. All right, the NCAA tournament right around the corner. One of the best in the business will join us. We'll get his thoughts on what to expect. Brent Stover joining the show next.
How can I sit here in one breath and say the sport is broken when it looks like the audience is more pleased with the sport than ever?
It's not broke. It's just we've been drinking out of a fire hose for 3 years. But it can't just be pay them, kick them off the team, next guy, next team. I worry about these kids' long-term health and what they're going to do with their lives when they're 26 and 27, when they have no roots at any university.
James Rodriguez is reportedly joining Minnesota United. The main thing as a fan of the league, I would just be excited to see him play. And then Minnesota against NYCFC, get to go see James. And what if that game is at City Field, bro? Queens is going to lose their mind.
It's going to go nuts. Astoria and Jacksonites will be empty. There will be 3 Uruguayans, 4 Argentinians, and 6 Mexicans, and all of Jacksonites go, what the hell's going on? Where is everybody?
Admittedly, I'm a huge fan of Travis Hunter as a prospect. Do you have any sense of what his growth is going to be like, where he might be playing more and more, what his role is going to look like, especially on the offensive side?
The way he is, his personality, I think this injury in his rookie year is only going to just make him better. He was starting to really get going on offense, and we were starting to click. So who knows what the rep count looks like, but I know he's a special receiver when he gets the ball in his hands.
Texas is going full Rascal Flats. They're moving on. They're going to play number 6 BYU. The Longhorns take down NC State 68-66. They clinched the number 11 seed in the play, and we already have action going on. That's right. UMBC also lost last night. With that, we welcome in CBS Sports College basketball broadcaster Brent Stover joining us. Also going to talk a little bit of IFL, but let's start with what we see, what we're going to see, and what we expect from the tournament, Brent. So what are your thoughts on last night's game in Dayton? You give Texas any shot to maybe do the unthinkable with BYU and AJ DeBonsa next?
Definitely. I think they're going to beat BYU. I had that in my bracket. It's always a little bit unnerving when you pick one of those first 4 teams to win another game. Because if they lose in the first 4, then it's such a bad start for your bracket, and you're already kind of screwed. So I did have them winning last night and beating BYU in the next round. So that makes me feel a lot better. I thought they were going to give it away, but Tremont Mark, I mean, the heroics. If the 2 games last night are any indication, this tournament is going to be absolutely off the charts.
It was an absolute blast, both games. I mean, NC State, Texas, just by brand awareness alone was epic, and the game absolutely delivered. But I do want to take this bracket by bracket here, and we'll start on the side of the bracket in which Texas is in. They are in the West on Arizona's side of the bracket. Who do you see advancing to the Final Four from the West?
I've got Arizona, which I know is not really going out on a limb. And I try, so many times throughout my life, I've tried to pick the right upsets, and I seem to always pick the wrong ones. And when I say upsets, not just Cinderellas, to win 1 or 2 rounds, but also teams to get to the Final Four, like a 4 or a 5 seed. But this one is pretty chalk to me. I feel like Arizona is going to come out of the West. And quite frankly, I think they're going to beat Gonzaga on the way there. So a 1 against a 3 there in the regional final.
It's funny when you say that, Brent, because I love to try and I want to be creative and I want to get cute. And I want to make these things wild and different. But then they put our picks out there, and all of a sudden, when things run chalk and I was trying to be cute, then we all look like idiots. So there's a fine line on all of it. Let's go to the Midwest. Michigan, obviously the one there. Who do you see advancing to any Cinderella that you like in that bracket?
Yeah, a quick aside. I am in real time living that, what you just talked about, being the idiot. They put my bracket up on CBS Sports on Instagram, and it's got like 1.8 million views and about 1,000 comments. And I'd say 995 of the 1,000 comments are people hating me right now. So quick aside right there, I'm living it in real time. I got Michigan coming. No, I don't. I've got Iowa State coming out of there. I've got Iowa State beating Michigan in the regional final. Iowa State is a team I've been on all season long, even through the ups and downs that even the good teams have had throughout the year. I love TJ Otzelberger, Joshua Jefferson. They got the best shooter in the country in Milan Momcilovic. They're stacked, and I love the brand of ball that they play. So I've got the Cyclones actually beating Michigan and coming out of that region.
Ooh, I love it. Coming off of a year where we had 4 1 seeds, it now feels like, oh, if you have a 2 advancing to the Final Four, it's like, ooh, scandalous. But I hope that we don't necessarily have all chalk this year like we did last year. But I do want to head to the East, though, headlined by Duke with their incredible coaching staff. There's incredible coaches throughout that entire region. That feels like the side of the bracket that's just chock full of all of the brands. What's a potential Cinderella on that side of the bracket that you could see coming out of the East?
See, that's such a tough one to pick a Cinderella from simply because of what you just said, the brands. It's the first time in the history of the NCAA tournament that there are 6 programs that have won at least multiple national championships, all in the same region. That's never happened in the history. And so I do think that it's going to be tough for a Cinderella to come out of there. I'll say this. The Cinderella I wanted to pick before the bracket came out was Northern Iowa. I've always loved Ben Jacobson. Every time he goes to the NCAA tournament, they make noise. Ali Faroukmanesh, like 15 years ago, shot it out of the gym and took him to the Sweet 16 out of nowhere. The last 3 times they've been at the dance, they've won at least a game. Talking about that Faroukmanesh little run to the Sweet 16. 2 times ago, they won 1 game. And then the last time they were in, they beat Texas in a pretty big shocker. Again, it's been 10 years since they were in, but they're always a fun brand. The problem is they're stacked up against St. John's in a 12-5 matchup, which is usually a trendy pick. The issue is that matchup is not good for Northern Iowa. So if there's going to be an upset, it's Northern Iowa. But if it doesn't happen, I've got St. John's going to the Final Four because I don't believe St. John's is a 5 seed. I think they are more of a 3 or a 4 seed. So just a tough matchup there for the Northern Iowa. Other than that, in terms of like a double digit, I just, maybe North Dakota State, if they can get by Michigan State, they're the 14 in the region. But that's a tough one for me to go for. I don't, Cal Baptist is the 13 and as up and down as Kansas has been. It's Cal Baptist's first ever time in the big dance. I don't see it.
Yeah, first ever time in the big dance makes me nervous too. Let's go to the South. We got Florida in the South. We haven't even talked about the defending national champions who are trying to go back-to-back and playing really well right now. And as I keep saying, they got like 87 guys that are all 432 feet tall. Google it. That's the actual fact. All right, so who do you have coming out of that bracket, or do you see a Cinderella you like there?
I got McNeese winning a couple games. So there's your 12-5. I've got McNeese to the Sweet 16. They can score a lot of points. And I jump on – when I'm talking about mid-majors looking for upsets this time of year, I'm talking about teams where they've got at least one dude that can go for 30 or 40 on a night, or they've just got a team that can score 90 or 100 on a night. McNeese is that group. I think they'll win a couple. This is where my national champion comes from. I've got Illinois beating Florida in the regional final. I've got Illinois on to the Final Four, and ultimately, and maybe I'm jumping the gun a little bit here, but this is that pick that has been so polarizing for me when my picks have gotten out there on the internet a little bit over the last few weeks. But I've been on Illinois for about a month, and I've got them winning the national championship.
Bold.
Nobody's ever nice on the internet. It's okay. Why Illinois? What about Illinois gives you so much confidence?
Yeah, I didn't tell you. You guys are my therapists. That's why I came on the show today, to kind of help me with the, the bullying that I'm experiencing. No, why Illinois? Why Illinois is a good. I love Brad Underwood. I love the fact that they've got these European guys they just play a very pretty brand of basketball. I think a lot of these teams, they're really, really good teams. There's a lot of individual play, and that's the way the college game, in a lot of ways, has become. Doesn't mean you can't win a lot of games and win a national title. I just think with Illinois, they've got a lot of really skilled guys. They've got good shooters. They've got a good makeup. They've got good depth. They got Stojakovic, which, of course, Peja was his dad for years. They got the Ivasic brothers, who have been fantastic all season long. I don't know. Keaton Wagler is one of the best freshmen in a year of outstanding freshmen across the country. He kind of came out of nowhere. He was an undervalued, under-recruited guy out of high school, out of Kansas City and Shawnee. And Keaton Wagler has been one of the best players in the country, and I'm kind of leaning on him to have a big March as well.
Brent, you've watched more college basketball than most of us combined this year. One thing that really blows my mind is the variance. I keep talking about this. From good teams, we've seen really good ball, and we've seen really terrible basketball. Why are we seeing such a great amount of variance in quality of play, consistency in play, even from good teams in modern college basketball?
That's a good question. I probably haven't picked up on that quite as much. My perspective is that it's the Wild West off the floor, and college basketball has never been in a worse spot off the floor, but the product on the floor has never been better. And so my perspective is more along the lines of this, and I'm certainly not diminishing what you're picking up, because we could be watching the same games and picking up two different things. So my best friends and I, we get in these arguments all the time, because he doesn't agree with my point that the product on the floor has never been better. I would say this. The biggest thing I've noticed is the separation between the haves and the have-nots, and that one's pretty clear. NIL, the fact that if you are a mid-major, they can maybe make a run, and we'll see it. You know, if a mid-major wins one or two games this year in the NCAA tournament, you're going to see their top player go to a big program, and that's what's happening, is that all of the big programs and the blue bloods are picking up and plucking up the best players from the mid-majors. So the separation and the ability for us to see a whole bunch of big upsets like we used to see is just not really happening anymore. And that's because of NIL, and that's because the ability of these big budget programs to be able to go out and buy players. So that's the part of it that I don't love, and that's the part I've noticed. But at the top, when I'm watching the best teams play each other, I'm seeing a really good product on the floor.
I mean, hey, NIL giveth, NIL taketh away. And I think we're seeing that with Kentucky, that money doesn't always necessarily equate to wins on the basketball floor. Yesterday, we talked about how, obviously we know legends are made in March. Which coaches could potentially impact or solidify their legacies this tournament season? Who do you think? Which coach, which team, which player do you think can cement their legacies the most this March?
I'm really leaning heavily on St. John's. I've got them to the Final Four, beating Duke. I think Rick Pitino, certainly a guy that doesn't need to solidify, but he's getting older. I don't know how many more years he's going to coach. I think Rick Pitino could rip through that bracket and pull off the shocker against Duke in the regional final. I think they are better than the inconsistent way that they've played throughout the season. When you look at their roster and when you look at the way they've come together, you look at the way they played in the Big East tournament, cutting down the nets at Madison Square Garden. Zuby Ejiofor can absolutely take over a game. He's certainly a guy to keep an eye on. Tom Izzo, I'm never going to bet against him this time of year, although I do have them getting knocked out in the Elite Eight. But Tom Izzo continues to cement his legacy. I certainly wouldn't go against them. Bill Self in Kansas, only because I saw the shot up there, obviously a Hall of Famer. They've been too inconsistent for me. And you don't know what's going to happen with Darren Peterson in and out of that lineup. They've had trouble, to me, putting it all together. Will they do it here? Yeah, it's tough to go against him, but I am not on board with Kansas. And you see Dan Hurley there. I've got him to the Elite Eight, UConn. A lot of people will pick them to the Final Four and perhaps the national title. But the one thing about it, I feel like it's wide open to an extent. I think there's about 12 to 15 teams that could win the national championship in Indianapolis, and that's what's going to make it a lot of fun. So to me, we miss out on a little bit of the fun we used to have with a lot of these Cinderellas. You watch, the moment I say this, we're going to see 13s and 14s and 15s pulling off shockers. But I think it's going to stay pretty chalk into the Sweet 16, and then, from there on out, I think a lot of different things could happen. And that's why I'm going out on a limb a little bit with having like an Iowa State in the Final Four. I've got Nebraska all the way to the Elite Eight. I love their brand of basketball, even though the second half of the season they haven't been the same. I picked some of that stuff to happen with 4 and 5 seeds to maybe go a little deeper than others would.
Part of the reason we get to hang out with you and we're talking to you is also because we're teammates with the IFL. The Indoor Football League is now teammates with Yahoo Sports, Yahoo Sports Network. Caroline and I made our debut over the weekend. You are obviously a huge part of the league and the broadcasting. What do you love about Indoor Football League?
I love having you guys on it. I love the partnership with Yahoo Sports Network. It's exactly, we had you on the podcast that I co-host yesterday, and I'm kind of going to repeat what you say. It's fast-paced, it's entertaining, it's exciting. It's like a rock concert in there. And, you guys had Fisher's Freight over the weekend with an unbelievable atmosphere. You guys were awesome, by the way. If that's a sign of things to come, having you guys and that team with Nate Tice in the booth as well is going to be so much fun, and it's going to open a lot of eyes to the sport. And I think you guys are going to be a huge asset for the IFL. But yeah, I've been in love with the indoor game for 25, 30 years, quite frankly. When I was a kid, I remember coming home from church and just being excited that in the spring we have football. And that's the other thing is, you guys had a game on Saturday. It was the first football game since the Super Bowl. And that's the cool part to me, is that football can be year round and we can have it all spring and summer long. And with the IFL in particular, it's on such solid ground. We've seen other leagues come and go, but you got 14 really good teams. You got the New Mexico Chupacabras playing their first ever game, and you got the Orlando Pirates playing against them. Orlando was in Massachusetts the last few years. Now they're obviously the Pirates have moved to Orlando. We've got good ownership. We've got Todd Tryon and Jared Widman and Eric Van Beek in the front office. I mean, everything is set up for success. And between you guys and the partnership we have with Overnight streaming as well, couldn't be more excited.
Well, we couldn't be more excited to be part of this, obviously. And Chupacabras is, by the way, a great nickname. You just saw coming up over the weekend. That's going to be electric.
So good.
Brent, we appreciate your time, your insight. I hope your brackets are absolutely crushing. I hope they go undefeated and you win it all just so you can clap back to everybody that's clapped to you, my friend. We appreciate your time. Thanks for hanging out with us this morning.
Thanks. You guys are awesome. Looking forward to you guys back on the IFL in the coming weeks. Caroline, you were awesome kind of, on the sidelines, dodging those big guys and doing the job. Exactly what we had hoped and more. Thank you, guys.
I was parkouring
Great
over the
stuff.
boards, too. A lot of gymnastics there.
There's never a doubt. Beat the buzzer. Yahoo Fantasy Bracket Mayhem Brackets now open for your shot at $50K. Fill out your men's and women's brackets for a chance to win $25,000 in both tournaments. Visit yahoofantasy.com/bracket mayhem. Fill out your brackets right now. Coming up next, we will continue to give you more fallout from the WNBA and what it means. Actually, coming up next, we'll just talk sports. Yahoo Sports Daily.
It's time for the NBA to demote the old guard and promote the new guard. The NBA, they love scheduling Warriors and Lakers and LeBron and Steph and all these stars that we've had in our life for over a decade, since many of us were kids. And it's great that we have this generation still in the NBA, but Anthony Edwards is box office, and maybe make a little space for this new generation.
One that I've been having a lot of fun with recently is Gronk. So I'm here on Yahoo Sports Daily, and if it wasn't every day, then it'd be called Yahoo Sports Weekly. Like, if it wasn't live, it would be Yahoo Sports Taped, like that kind of stuff. So that's the thing about Seattle, is they call themselves the 12th man, and that's one more player than you're allowed to have on the field. So LA's going to have to account for another player that they're not used to.
Who are some of the other UFC combat sports golfers that we might not know about? Like, who's sneaky good?
You know what, man? I don't think there really is anybody else. Daniel Cormier is starting to play. He's absolutely
How's his game?
awful.
He's
awful. He talks so much trash. He is so bad. But I tell you what, though, he is an athlete, and he's just like in golf's like anything. The more you do it, the better you get.
For more than a year, the WNBA and WNBPA talked about reaching a transformational collective bargaining agreement. Wednesday a.m., they did that. That from Annie Costabile. As we continue to break down the fallout from the breaking news this morning, it looks like we have a labor agreement. For everyone that hasn't seen this yet, they have agreed verbally to a new collective bargaining agreement. We don't have those details yet, and those details can't be truly made public, at least until everything is signed, sealed, and delivered. But Caroline, transformational is a word that Annie has used. It's a word that multiple reporters this morning are using from the league. Transformational is what they wanted to accomplish, and so far it feels like the messaging from both the league and the players is that transformational is what they've actually managed to get done.
It absolutely is transformational. We've seen some numbers trickling in, and these are reported numbers, and so nothing is absolutely, reported as 1,000% fact. But we're seeing a potential salary cap increase from 1.5 million, as you see it there, 1.5 million to 6.5 million. Super max salaries in the millions. You're seeing the average salary go from somewhere in $100,000 range to $500,000 range. This is massive, massive growth for the league. And we had Cassandra Negley on earlier in the show. So if you didn't catch that, you can go back and find it on the Yahoo Sports YouTube page and on the Yahoo Sports Network. But Cass mentioned how this isn't just transformational just in the CBA. This isn't just transformational in terms of the checks that these players are going to be receiving. It's transformational in how the players feel and the professionalism of the league. They now are compensated like professional athletes. They feel respected and compensated like and shared and celebrated like athletes maybe in other leagues. That they're getting actual legitimate revenue share. And sure, the WNBA had rev share in the past, but it wasn't really revenue share that was as concrete as what they're getting now. Now the revenue share that they are getting reportedly is more reflective of what the NBA gets, of what Major League Soccer gets. I want to go back and remind everyone, because I do feel like people are very quick to critique the WNBA and WNBA players in getting what they deserve. That the WNBA was not asking for the same dollar amount as the NBA. What the W was asking for was share that was reflective of, or, at least reflected what the NBA was getting, and that the NBA players get 50% of the league revenue. That's massive. The WNBA didn't want the exact same dollar amount. They just wanted a share that looked similar to their NBA counterpart. And it looks now that that is what they are getting. So I think this is a massive moment for the W. This is a massive moment for these players. This is a massive moment for women's basketball. And this is a massive and transformational moment for women's sports as a whole. And I'm just so glad that we've been able to reach a deal that doesn't shorten the season or shorten training camp or push back any expansion drafts.
Yeah, I think we all agree that any change to what we were going to see had such massive consequence. Like, I'm not even just talking about the loss of games. The loss of games would have been a massive consequence. But even for two expansion teams that paid historic revenue to be able to come into this league, they paid historic rights fees to be able to come into this league. The thought that they'd be behind the eight ball on building their first season out and selling tickets to their first season and trying to field a competitive team in their first season. Like, these are all the things that were sort of on the line, right? And you asked something earlier that I think was jarring when I thought about it, wondering if getting to the $500,000 range that we expect players will be at now for this salary will prevent players from having to go somewhere else and play. I'm using the word having, not wanting. Like, it's one thing if you play a truncated season and say, you know what, I like money and I want to make more of it, so I'm going to go play in Europe. Or I love ball, so I'm going to go play it Unrivaled. That's fine if you want to go play somewhere. It's a much different thought of, okay, I just finished the WNBA. Like, you think about what it means, no matter what you do in life, to get to the 1%. You work your whole life to get to the top of the top of the top in the field that you work in. These women sacrifice so much to become the best women's basketball players in the world, right? And so to think that you get to the point where you are now one of the best basketball players in the world, and your reward for that is you get to play in the WNBA and 4 or 5 other leagues because you need to be able to have enough money to live, like that's really, it's not the dream that everybody has in mind. Just getting it to the point where simply making it to the NBA is truly making it. Making it to the W is now making it. And that, to me, in and of itself, is empowering for every person right now that's trying to get into the league. It's empowering for everybody that has worked hard to try and get to that point where they're right on the fringe of being a WNBA player. And it's empowering for every young girl right now that somewhere in the world is saying, hey, I want to someday be a WNBA player. Well, you can now look at that as a more viable, yes, I can do this. And if I make it, I can actually get to a spot where I can do this at the highest level and make good money doing it. Like, there's a freedom that comes with that. So to me, actually, consequence, if they had canceled games, canceled training camp, canceled anything along the way, I would have destroyed them in front of this microphone. The fact that they got it done without doing any of that, now I need to praise them as heavily as I would have doubted them if they canceled anything. This is a truly important moment for the league because they get labor peace, but also because they're doing things the right way. And now we're set to have what is going to be a monumental season.
And you mentioned not having to cancel any games. I look at the first weekend of the WNBA schedule, and we have some absolute, like must-see TV kind of games. I mean, we have a rematch of the WNBA Finals between Vegas and Phoenix on Saturday, May 9th, the second day of the opening of the season. We have the Fever and the Dallas Wings that day as well. Paige Beckers versus Caitlin Clark. We'll have the 4 last number 1 overall picks displayed in that game. Those are very strategic scheduling on behalf of the WNBA. Those are the kind of games to draw in not just the diehards, but the casuals as well, the people that only know the Caitlin Clarks and the Paige Beckers of the league. Also, remember, this is the 30th season of the WNBA. They had a lot of really big plans and celebrations to celebrate the 30th birthday of the W on opening night on May 8th. So eliminating that would be eliminating some big ticket, high profile events for the W. I think eliminating those things would have been, and on top of just all of the bad publicity and the court of public opinion, how bad that would have been for the W with the truncated season, the fact that we avoid all of that is just the cherry on top of what is going to be some massive change for the W and for women's sports as a whole.
So we now have labor peace, but we have off-season chaos as they're going to have to get a lot done, and we'll make sure you're covered for every step of the way. But coming up next, we get gold on this show. We're going to get in some fun. Zach Werenski is going to join the show next.
You had 27 points in your third game. What do you remember from that night?
Oh man, it was great. Once the first one drops, like I was like, okay, we're good to go. Then the second one, then the third one, and then you get to like this mode where it's kind of like unconscious. Like, it feels like practice in a way. It was just like every time I shot it, it was like I was outside playing on just like my mini hoop. You know what I mean? Outside in the front yard. It also, I think, gave my teammates confidence too. Like, damn, he probably can shoot. You know what I mean? So we should get him the ball.
What do you think is your best route, and what is your favorite route to run?
I would feel like it's probably like a stop route or something.
That's a good answer.
Like a stop route. My favorite route to run, I like to run digs.
This is from early in your rookie season. That was the best one there, was the dig route. So I think you're doing pretty well there.
Mm-hmm.
I like that. Okay, good answer. That was very validating for me personally, and I'm glad that you feel that way. So, okay, you mentioned...
I gave you validation.
You gave me validation, bro.
Like that.
Bro, that's what this is all about.
I like that.
What was your impression of him? Do you feel like you have a friendship with Giannis now?
I feel like he was just my friend. Like, I didn't even see him as just a basketball player, Giannis Antetokounmpo. I was just like that's just my guy. Cause we were just chilling. Like he took me to his home. He took me to his first he did his first dunk in his neighborhood. So like he was just showing me around. And I think we still check up on each other. I just need to go to one of his games, which I promised him.
Everyone's on their feet to welcome home our gold medalist. If you look at Zach Werenski back on February 28th, getting some love from the Columbus crowd as he returned home after winning gold for the United States, I cannot imagine what that moment feels like. I don't have to imagine because I can ask the man, the myth, the legend himself, a defenseman for the Columbus Blue Jackets and U.S. Olympic gold medalist. Zach Werenski joins us now. What's that like for after all of the wins and everything, and you come home and you see the home crowd just erupt for your gold in front of them?
Yeah, it was incredible. I mean, I guess I didn't realize the magnitude of the gold medal win until we got back to the States. Obviously, it meant a lot to us as players. We know the U.S. hasn't done it in 46 years, and we wanted to be the team that got us over the hump. And we enjoyed it in Milan, but once we got back to the States, we landed in Miami, the reception we got there, and then obviously coming back to Columbus, a place where I've been for 10 years now, to celebrate that with our fans, the reception I got, it's been incredible, probably better than I could have dreamed of. And I got home and my whole house was decorated with USA decorations and flags from people around the community, and then obviously the fans at the game. It's been an unbelievable couple of weeks here since the gold.
I mean, it was surreal for me watching the game at home. I can only imagine how surreal it was for you being part of it. So is there a specific moment that you can go back to when it really sunk in that, oh my, I'm a gold medalist and my life just changed forever?
That's a good question. I mean, the whole experience of the Olympics was incredible. You know, every time I've played for USA Hockey, it's been at a hockey event. And for us to go to the Olympics and be a part of Team USA, not just hockey, the whole experience of it, the speed skating, the figure skating, the women's hockey, we were all together in Milan. And to just be around all the other athletes, be representing something bigger than just yourself, you're representing your country. I think that was the most surreal part about it. And when I realized how special it truly was to be at the Olympics. In terms of winning the gold, I think pretty quickly after it happened, we realized that our lives changed. We knew it didn't happen for 46 years, like I mentioned, and it was a pretty historic game and moment. And to be a part of it and be a part of that team, it's incredible. And like I said, I think the reception we got once we got back to the States really made us realize how important that game was.
So you took I'm the guy that's sitting at a bar. Caroline's sitting at home, so that's the right thing to do. I'm sitting at a bar. But you took the bar through different levels of ugly crying throughout the course of this. There was the, oh my God, we won the gold medal, everybody's rejoicing. Then all of the tributes to Johnny Gaudreau, who I know meant so much to you, that was such an emotional moment. Why was that so important for you and your teammates to take that time with his family and to honor him?
Yeah, I mean, he was a great friend to a lot of us. And he's a guy that would have been on the Four Nations team. He would have been on that Olympic team. And to see his family in the crowd, see his kids, have his jersey, we felt like it was right. And to be honest, that was more important to us than winning the gold medal. It was a moment like that, something his family can always look back on, something his kids can always see. You know, I see Meredith and the kids a lot here in Columbus, but for them to be at the Olympics, something John would have been at, for us to honor him the way we did, you know, that was what it's all about. That's what sports are about, and that's what hockey's about. It's a team game, and it's about friendships and family. And like I said, that was cooler to me than winning the gold medal, was that moment with his kids.
That was when the boohoo tears really started to come for me. I've seen it. Fitz has seen it. We've all seen it. I'm sure you have seen it as well. A lot of the discourse from Canadian hockey fans of it doesn't count because they won 3-on-3. 3-on-3 is not real hockey. I'm sure you've heard it all. What would you say to people who say that maybe the win was not as legitimate because it did come in the form of overtime and 3-on-3?
Yeah, I mean, it'd probably be a different tune if they won it in 3-on-3. So you got to take it with a grain of salt. I mean, everyone's playing on the same rules and the same ice and all that stuff. And it was 3-on-3. That is what it is. And They have some of the best players in the world in 3-on-3, and so do we. And they had a few chances. Our goalie stood tall. He was our best player all tournament, especially that game. And then we went out there and got it done in overtime. So obviously it's definitely a little bit different. It's not 5-on-5, and I get that. But I feel like whatever team won, the other team, that's kind of an excuse, I guess, for the fans. But we're happy about it. We're happy we won, and it is what it is. We'll take it 3-on-3, 4-on-4, or 5-on-5, and in this case, it was 3-on-3. So just a great moment.
Let me be a hockey nerd for a second, though, because when you guys went into 3-on-3, my first thought was, how much time have you actually had to practice 3-on-3s? Like, it's such a truncated schedule that you get for the Olympics, and then you go off with that. I mean, the pass was absolutely perfect, right? Like, you had that perfect moment on the game-winning goal. How much 3-on-3 time had you guys actually spent preparing?
None at all. Yeah, we watched a little video on it. Like, our coaches sent an email with how we wanted to play 3-on-3. But we didn't spend any time in practice working on it. It was kind of just feel. I mean, in the NHL, we play 3-on-3 in overtime, so guys are familiar with it. We know it's man on man once you get in the zone. The only difference is maybe the neutral zone, how teams play it. But it's definitely a different type of game when it gets to 3-on-3. A lot more ice. Usually when there's one chance one way, if there's a save, there's a grade A chance the other way. So it kind of goes back and forth. And in that situation, that's exactly what happened. McDavid took it to the net. Jack makes a great play. And next thing you know, we're on a 3-on-1 the other way. So, that's 3-on-3. It's exciting. It's a lot of chances back and forth. And at the end of the day, you just hope you're the team that scores. And, in that situation, I was a part of it. And it was awesome. So, pretty crazy moment in my hockey career.
Yeah, I would say so. An amazing moment in your hockey career. I do want to stick on Jack, though, for just a moment, because he recently voiced his issue about the game winning puck being in the Hockey Hall of Fame and not in his possession. Have you heard about this and thoughts on where the puck should belong?
Yeah, I just saw this morning, actually. I haven't read the full article, but I saw some of his quotes. I don't know. I don't know how I feel about it. I mean, obviously he scores the game-winning goal, so I get his argument on it. It's tough though, because if you're like a Connor Hellebuck, for example, he could have the same argument. He's the reason we were even in overtime. So I definitely get it. It's a team game, but Jack is the one that scores the golden goal. So if he feels like he should have it, I don't really care. I guess I see him a lot in the summers, so I could always pop by and see it, but. It doesn't really matter to me. I'm just happy I have a gold medal at the end of the day.
So talk to me a little bit about what happens next, because the truncated schedule now means you got a lot of games in a limited amount of time. You're on a team that's fighting for a playoff spot. How has the Olympic experience impacted what you guys have to accomplish when you get back to your day job as a superstar in the NHL?
Yeah, it's been hectic. I mean, until yesterday, we had 10 games in 17 days. Which in my career I've never done, or I've never played that many games in such a short amount of time. And I think that's just because of the Olympic schedule. We had that big break in there. But this race to the finish is crazy right now, especially in the East. Everyone's fighting for those last two playoff spots. And we're right there in it. We've been playing some good hockey, and it's important to get rest right now. Every other day we play, some back-to-backs in there. It's a sprint to the finish, and everyone's going through it. So I think that's the good part is it's not like we're the only team that's playing this many games in this short amount of time. The whole league's doing it, but it's definitely been crazy coming back from the Olympics and the high of that, of winning and the partying and all that stuff, to getting back into the regular season was a bit of a challenge, just with the travel and the late nights and whatnot. But we're in a great spot here, and I've really enjoyed this playoff push we're in. And we're going to keep pushing till the end, and we're going to keep pushing until we get in. And it's been a lot of fun. So I'm looking forward to the last 15 or so games here.
We talked so much about what Team USA winning the gold medal can do for hockey and the popularity of hockey. Will people tune in for the gold medal game? Maybe people who aren't, diehard hockey fans, will that open the door for them to the game of hockey? Have you felt a different level of excitement, a different level of buy-in for the NHL side of things since the gold medal game?
It's a good question. I mean, I think so. I think I've definitely, at least around town, I've noticed more people come up to me and say, congrats on the gold. You know, we don't watch hockey that often, but we watched that game. I feel like it brought the country together, us, the women's, the Paralympic team. It was a clean sweep of gold for the U.S. And I feel like that's going to grow the game. And I've said this before, but there's going to be so many kids that want to be Jack Hughes or Megan Keller that scores the overtime winner. And that's how you grow the game, is moments like that. And that's why we pushed so hard to be on the Olympic stage in our last negotiations for the CBA. We wanted world hockey. We wanted best on best, and we wanted to be in these environments. And I think, like I said, that's the way you grow the sport of hockey, is for moments like that. So I definitely think there's been a positive impact on the game. I feel like, you know, I don't know if it's just because we're in a playoff push, but I feel like our crowds have gotten bigger and people are more into it. And it seems like across the league, ticket sales have gone up and more people are watching the game. So I think it was great for the sport of hockey. I think it's great how both gold medal games for us and the women's were against Canada. Both went to overtime. You look at the Paralympic game this past weekend and them versus Canada. Yeah, it's just been great for the sport of hockey for the U.S. to come and have a clean sweep. And I think it's grown the game so much here in the United States.
You know, as you say that, we talked a lot right after the Olympics about Major League Baseball, because the Summer Olympics in a couple of years, it will be right in the middle of their season. Players seem passionate about it there as well. Knowing what it's done to 10 games, 17 games, you just said to us, knowing all of the things that it does to sort of create chaos in your league, what would you tell Major League Baseball players about it? Is it all worth it to shut your league down and have that experience?
100%. I wouldn't change a thing. I wish I could do that every single year. I don't care about the chaos of the regular season. You train for that. You train to be ready for a lot of games and a long season and a long playoff push. So I feel ready for it. I knew what to expect coming into the season, and the experience I had there at the Olympics was the best experience I could have ever had in my life. Not only from a hockey perspective, but from a life experience perspective. And like I said, I wouldn't change a thing. I wish I could do it every year. I know it's not how it works, but I had so much fun being in the village, being around all the other athletes, going to different events, representing the country, the United States of America on that world stage. It was the best experience I could have had. And yeah, if I'm baseball, I'm pushing for it. I mean, those guys should be in the Olympics and should want it, and they should get to experience that.
You mentioned the Olympic Village. What's one of your favorite Olympic Village stories?
That's a good question. I got a lot of them. I think, honestly, we played so late. Our games were at 9 p.m. in Milan. So after the games, we'd get back to the CAF or the dining hall, and we would just hold court there until 2 in the morning. We would just sit there, hot stove and about whatever. All the athletes would come in. We'd see after their events as well. There was a few other athletes that would pop in, and yeah, we'd just sitting there hanging out, having fun, and just enjoying each other's company. I mean, I really enjoyed just, as crazy as it sounds, being in the dining hall, seeing all the other athletes, being around them, trading pins. I mean, it's all the small things, but those are the moments that I'll always look back on and remember how much fun I had being in the Olympic Village.
The real question is, how'd you not get the SNL invite, dude? Like, you had the assist on the game-winning vote. Like, I go, I'm watching the men's and women's team both on Saturday Night Live. What happened? Who left you out?
I don't know. I'm gonna have to get on someone about that, though. I definitely would have been there. It's once in a lifetime. But Jack and Quinn and Hillary and Megan did a great job. I saw the SNL that night, and I thought they crushed it. So I don't know if I would have done as good, but I definitely would have gone if I got the invite. But maybe sometime in the future, I'll be on there.
Did you watch it live?
I didn't watch it live. No, I saw just a clip of it the next day. Yeah.
What was that experience like, watching your teammates?
Did you know they were doing it?
I saw they were doing it or going there, I think, the day of. So I had an idea they were going to be on it.
Okay.
Yeah. No,
what
it
was
was
that
cool.
like to watch them on SNL?
Yeah, they crushed it. They did a good job. I know Jack has the personality for it, so I knew he'd do a good job. He's kind of, out of all the guys that could have scored the golden goal, he's probably the best one for it, just with his personality and how he handles himself. He's great at that stuff. And like I said, seeing Quinn, Megan, and Hillary on there doing what they do, I thought they all did great. And that's another moment right there that'll grow the game of hockey in the United States. And I think all that stuff, all that media stuff is great for growing the game. And like I said, those four did a great job. So it's been awesome seeing all the love for USA Hockey here lately.
Columbus is 1 point out of a wild card spot right now as we sit. What would make the city of Columbus go crazier? A Buckeyes national championship, or, hear me out, you guys win the cup?
Honestly, I think it's kind of an easy answer. I think it's us winning the cup because the Buckeyes have so much success. So they're more used to that. And I feel like a long playoff run here. We have great fans, and they've been so loyal to this fan base or to this team. This fan base has, and they deserve a long playoff run, and they deserve to stay in the cup. And we're trying to deliver that for them. I mean, we're right there right now. Last year, we missed out on game 82 of making the playoffs, and we want to get back there. And I've experienced playoff hockey here in Columbus, and it's incredible. The fans show up; they're loud. The fans outside the building watching the game. It's an incredible place for playoff hockey, and I know our fans deserve it. So hopefully, we can be the team that gets that done.
And your answer has nothing to do with the fact that you're from Michigan and went to University of Michigan. I'm just throwing out a little bit of Mason Blue for you. Just throwing it a little bit.
Yeah, no, maybe a little bit, but no, I think, like I said, I think they're more used to the Ohio State success. So I think a Blue Jackets Cup the city would erupt, and I'd love to be a part of that.
Well, Zach, we appreciate you being a part of this show this morning. Congratulations, man. You made a lifetime memory that for an entire generation, our grandkids will hear about the moment you were part of, and your assist on that game-winning goal is something that we will never forget. The entire run is something we will never forget. So we appreciate your time. Thanks for all you've given to us in entertainment. Have a great rest of the season. Thanks for hanging out with us this morning, man.
Yeah, I really appreciate it. Thank you, guys.
It's great stuff from Zach. Still get goosebumps thinking about it. Coming up, Jaylen Waddle was traded yesterday to the Denver Broncos. We'll try and make sense of it coming up next.
How can I sit here in one breath and say the sport is broken when it looks like the audience is more pleased with the sport than ever?
It's not broke. It's just we've been drinking out of a fire hose for 3 years. But it can't just be pay them, kick them off the team, next guy, next team. I worry about these kids' long-term health and what they're going to do with their lives when they're 26 and 27, when they have no roots at any university.
James Rodriguez is reportedly joining Minnesota United. The main thing as a fan of the league, I would just be excited to see him play. And then Minnesota against NYCFC, get to go see James. And what if that game is at Citi Field, bro? Queens is going to lose their mind.
It's going to go nuts. Astoria and Jackson Heights will be empty. There will be 3 Uruguayans, 4 Argentinians, and 6 Mexicans in all of Jackson Heights going, what the hell's going on? Where is everybody?
Admittedly, I'm a huge fan of Travis Hunter as a prospect. Do you have any sense of what his growth is going to be like, where he might be playing more and more, what his role is going to look like, especially on the offensive side?
The way he is, his personality, I think this injury in rookie year is only going to just make him better. He was starting to really get going on offense, and we were starting to click. So who knows what the rep count looks like, but I know he's a special receiver when he gets the ball in his hands.
Brandon Perna yesterday. I love that the Broncos made an aggressive trade for Jaylen Waddle. I do, however, feel bad for Malik Willis. That's his reaction and his feels after the Broncos pull off a trade that had everybody saying, wait, what? Yesterday, because Jaylen Waddle no longer a Miami Dolphin. He is now a Denver Bronco. This was a big trade for the Broncos, who had not made a single acquisition. The Broncos have been wildly quiet throughout the entire process. So the Denver receives, as you see here, Jaylen Waddle and the 2026 fourth-round pick, and in exchange, Miami gets the 30th overall pick in the 2026 draft, plus third and fourth-round picks. Caroline, what do you think? Where do you grade this from both sides?
I love this for the Broncos. I mean, last week we were talking about, is Sean Payton asleep? Is Sean Payton on spring break? What's happening? Why are the Broncos doing literally nothing? Like, did we forget the fact that Bo Nix absolutely needed to upgrade that? He needed an upgraded pass catching unit. Did we forget that the Broncos won a lot of their games by one score or just by a handful of points? Like, you can't just run that back and expect the same result. So I was thinking, okay, hello, Denver. Are we going to do something here? So I love this for Denver. Jaylen Waddle fills a need, and Jaylen Waddle is only 27 years old. He'll turn 28 late into the season. Jaylen Waddle still has plenty of years in his prime left ahead of him. So I love that it fills a need. I love what this adds for Bo Nix. I also love what this adds for Dragon Davis Webb, the new play caller in Denver. A nice, shiny, new little toy to add into that offense. So absolutely love it. And also, Denver has the 30th pick in the draft. So trading away a first round pick, yes, that feels like a lot, but also let's not forget, are you really going to get an instant plug and play difference maker with the 30th pick in the draft? Maybe, but the odds of that are significantly lower than if you had, let's say, a top 10 or a top 15 pick. So the trade compensation, that doesn't bother me much for Denver. Love this move for Denver. For Miami, in a vacuum, I said last week, I would not be surprised if Jaylen Waddle and Devon Achane were on the trading block, because it was clear that the Dolphins were tearing everything down to the studs. They were trading everybody. They were moving on from everyone, including at the head coach and in the front office. So I thought, okay, yeah, this makes sense. That Miami's just going to suck. Like, Miami is looking ahead to the 2027 draft. They are #tanking for Arch. But why pay close to $30 million a year for Malik Willis, the most attractive free agent quarterback on the market? That's the disconnect here. Like, I understand this move for the Dolphins independently of the Malik Willis signing. But if you're clearly trying to suck, if you're clearly trading away all of your best players except for Devon Achane, except I wouldn't be surprised to see Devon Achane maybe potentially getting traded here in the next several days, why sign Malik Willis? I don't understand that part, Fitz. Are you trying to win games or are you not? Because I think Malik Willis is good enough to win you enough games to get you out of the quarterback sweepstakes.
Yeah, and now this morning, Shefty has told everybody that according to the Dolphins, Devon Achane is not available on trade. So I give this an A for the Broncos and an F for the Dolphins. To be very clear, teams that have called the Miami Dolphins to inquire about Pro Bowl running back Devon Achane have been told that he is not available. I don't understand what the Dolphins are doing. I don't understand why you pay enough money to a quarterback over the next 2 years that now you think you're trying to see if he can be the future, or you like him. Like, if you were just setting up to tank, then just let Quinn Ewers do the job. Like, I don't understand what they're actually trying to accomplish. So based on the information we have on hand, I give this an A for the Broncos. And to your point, Caroline, because of this dysfunctional way that it all feels like it's going down for the Dolphins, I give it an F. I don't understand getting rid of Waddle, but keeping Achane while you're also getting rid of pieces all over the place. Also, it should be noted, almost half of the NFL salary cap this year will be dead cap money for Miami. That's how much of a rebuild they're in. So I don't understand a partial rebuild, and that feels like in some ways what they're doing. It makes no sense to me. Speaking of things that make no sense, we also got more news yesterday in the Maxx Crosby saga. What's interesting is Max has said for a long time, and I've said on this show, when he has something to say, he'll say it. Well, he did yesterday, and I listened to the entirety of the Rush podcast, his podcast with his buddies, where he broke down the entire process from the time he got the news of the trade to the first people he called about the trade to where he sat and had a cigar while he broke down in mind what all of it meant, to the long flight to get to the East Coast, followed by a long drive, only to be poked and prodded and gone through all these things and never get to meet with the head coach or the GM during any of the process of that until the very end of the day, at which point vibes were off and nothing felt right. And people telling him with the Ravens that the deal was still going to get done while his agent was calling him and saying they're backing out of the deal. All of this spoke to, at least from Maxx Crosby's point of view, a very dysfunctional process, Caroline, that just has me wondering why. Like, usually if you're trading for somebody and you think he's going to be part of your roster, I was a little surprised, honestly, they didn't just send a private jet. Like, I don't understand why you're flying all these difficult ways. But the minute he gets to the facility, I would think if I just traded 2 first-round draft picks for the first time in my team's history to acquire somebody, I would think that I would have, the parade ready, food ready, the coach ready, the GM ready. All the minute he walks in the door, it's a whole party of, oh my God, Max, you're here. We love you. This is going to be epic. Instead of, okay, you can meet with coach at the end of the day and maybe the GM at the end of the day if they have time. None of it made sense.
Like, what are they flying Maxx Crosby Southwest? Like, did they at least give him early bird check-in? Like, are we at least getting 2 bags for free? Well, perhaps an upgraded snack? Like, what in the what? This all feels so strange and so off. The Ravens traded 2 first-round picks for Maxx Crosby. That is a go for it. We are trying to win a Super Bowl, and we think that you are the difference in doing that. So my impression of that would be you send the PJ, you roll out the red carpet for Maxx Crosby. He lands right at the facility or as close as he possibly can to the facility. And then all of the powers that be, whether it's Eric DaCosta, it's ownership, it's Lamar Jackson himself there welcoming him off the jet with a glass of champagne and a nice little foot massage. Like, that's the kind of 5-star treatment that I would expect. Instead, it's all of this weird vibe, not meeting with Eric DaCosta, not getting the 5-star treatment. And so it just all feels very un-Baltimore-like. This feels very sketchy on behalf of the Ravens. And I view the Ravens as one of the best run organizations in the National Football League. They do everything right. They do everything by the book. They build their roster in a very smart and intelligent way. That this feels very Cincinnati Bengals. This feels very New York Jets. This feels very Tennessee Titan of the Baltimore Ravens, which is very rare air for the Ravens to be in.
Yeah, you want to meet Coach? Got to fly, Coach. Here's the thing. Diana Rossini at the time had reported that they were going to restructure his contract and do all of this stuff. And Max's agent went to social media and said, fake news. That never happened. Well, one thing that stood out to me for all of this conjecture we've had of, well, what were they trying to accomplish with Trey Hendrickson? Like, what was their goal? Their goal was to put both of them together. I mean, honestly, if you tell me that your superstar you just traded for has come over. His agent was never contacted by anybody because his agent wasn't even sure if the trade was going to go down or not. Max made it clear he was talking to his agent all day about whether or not something was wrong, right? So Max made that clear. So there's no indication that any contract was being, reworked for Max that would have allowed any extra money. The other part of it is, you're telling me that you're trying to bring in Trey and Max together, but now Max is telling me that he didn't talk to anybody all day. Sounds like y'all were busy. I don't know, ... working on a deal with Trey Hendrickson. Like, the more we get on this detail-wise, the fishier it all feels. Like, the more it just feels like if you love some guy and you want some guy that walks in your room, you make sure, damn sure, that he knows that somebody walks in the room. The fact that they weren't available, what were they working on? That guy? I mean, that's the only thing that I can make sense, because what did we talk about? We talked about the fact that, like, when legal tampering opened, the first thing that coaches do and GMs do is they call immediately because they want people to know you are our guy. We love you. We want you, right? When Max walks into the facility, even if they made him fly, as he said, to D.C. and then drive to Baltimore because there were no direct flights, even if they didn't put him on a PJ, and certainly if you can afford an NFL team, you can afford a PJ. Even if all of those things went wrong, even if everything went wrong, the minute he gets to the facility, that's when you at least let him know, man, you are a golden god here. Like, we look at you as the difference maker, especially for Jesse Minter, a new head coach that's bringing in his defense, right? So, to me, a defensive-minded head coach with the GM that comes in and just aggressively acquired you, man, you want the minute he walks in, you're the culture. You're going to help set this. I'd have Lamar in the building if he was available. I'd be talking to my big players saying, Max is coming in. Get everybody here. The fact that Max didn't really talk to anybody and didn't really get a chance to see anybody while they're all gone, and then all of a sudden, hours later, we get the deal with Trey Hendrickson. It just all feels really fishy. Caroline, it all feels like the more details we get on this, the more it feels like the Ravens were just not doing what the Ravens usually get benefit of the doubt for doing.
And when the trade fell through and then the Ravens signed Trey Hendrickson, we heard a lot of general managers across the league anonymously say we don't really want to do business with Baltimore, that was a red flag that smelled fishy for GMs across the league. And I get it. I understand that. You want to make sure that the business partner that you are doing business with is, doing 100% by the book. We know that nobody in the NFL does everything 100% by the book, but you get what I mean. But that was a GM thing. That was a front office thing. Now, with Maxx Crosby coming forward with this, I think that's a little bit of a red flag to players across the league as well. Previously, an organization that I thought did everything right, and I still have a lot of respect for the Baltimore Ravens organization. Now I'm looking at it with a raised eyebrow, like, what's going on here? Why? Like, it's the same general manager. It is still Eric DeCosta in the building. So why does everything feel so different?
I think I don't know why this got so screwed up by the Ravens, but this is what I do know, Caroline. If I was excited before yesterday afternoon to see what Maxx Crosby looks like when he gets back on the field, I'm now cartwheels in the streets to see what Maxx Crosby like. There are certain guys that just you don't think they can find another gear. If there's any other turbo left in the tank for Maxx Crosby, the last thing I would ever want to do is piss off Maxx Crosby. The last thing I'd want to do is see, there are certain guys, Kobe, Michael, there's certain guys that just have a different mentality when they get angry. I would never want to irritate Tom Brady. There's certain guys you just don't want to light the fire under. I heard a couple of Sopranos references from Max on the rush, and I always use that analogy with him because that's who he is. Like, that's who he is. Like, he's a Scarface Sopranos, like, mafia, loyal. Like, you go out, and he's a fire of the gods guy. Whatever. Now you've got a team that didn't make him feel like he thought they would. You got a team that he feels disrespected by. You got a whole group of people that are saying maybe he's going to be washed. All of this is just getting so hectic. I believe what you're going to see is an epic version of Maxx Crosby. The biggest difficulty the Raiders are going to have this season is trying to get Maxx Crosby to calm down a little bit, because he's going to go out and remind exactly everybody in the league exactly of who he is. All right. Maxx Crosby eventually is going to have his name in some 100%. 100%.
As he should.
I love all of this. Speaking of epic players, Matt Leinart has had an epic career. No. Speaking of epic players, Oklahoma City. We'll get to it. Playoffs for OKC coming next.
It's time for the NBA to demote the old guard and promote the new guard. The NBA, they love scheduling Warriors and Lakers and LeBron and Steph and all these stars that we've had in our life for over a decade, since many of us were kids. And it's great that we have this generation still in the NBA, but Anthony Edwards is box office, and maybe make a little space for this new generation.
One that I've been having a lot of fun with recently is Gronk. So I'm here on Yahoo Sports Daily, and if it wasn't every day, then it'd be called Yahoo Sports Weekly. Like, if it wasn't live, it would be Yahoo Sports Taped, like that kind of stuff. So that's the thing about Seattle, is they call themselves the 12th man, and that's one more player than you're allowed to have on the field. So LA's going to have to account for another player that they're not used to.
Who are some of the other UFC combat sports golfers that we might not know about? Like, who's sneaky good?
You know what, man? I don't think there really is anybody else. Daniel Cormier is starting to play. He's absolutely
How's his game?
awful.
He's
no. Awful. He talks so much trash. He is so bad. But I tell you what, though, he is an athlete, and he's just like in golf's like anything. The more you do it, the better you get.
The Thunder are the first team to clinch a playoff spot. Shocking. Thunder, feel the thunder, bang, bang, bang. Your Imagine Dragons credit you didn't know you needed. Caroline Fenton, obviously a very, very big moment for the Thunder here. I don't think that this is a shock to anybody that they've turned around and they clinched a playoff spot, but OKC is at least headed to the playoffs. They're the first of many chips to fall here. See what I did there with chips?
OKC fans are mad at me, though. I have accidentally poked the bear there with OKC fans. So I said that since LSU hasn't beaten South Carolina since 2012, that at this point they'd rather play the Oklahoma City Thunder. Upset some men out there.
Yeah. That's not going to go well for you. That was you're on something. Speaking of which, we're going to go to on target.
It's a joke.
Something. So sure. This is I was good. It was a good joke. It was fine. It was good. We're going to go on target on something. We'll figure out some of the big stories, whether or not they're on target, whether or not they're on something. SGA dropped 40 in that game, so his 20-point streak is now to 129. But 9 of his points came on free throws. Free throws. This is the important thing. He's taking a lot of heat for his style of his play. On target, on something, Reggie Miller came out to SGA's defense saying, I don't understand what foul baiting is. We didn't say this about MJ, and MJ went to the line 10-plus times. Reggie Miller, is he on target or is he on something?
I think Reggie Miller's on something. First of all, I think that we're all just like a little bit sensitive coming off of the Bam Adebayo 83-point game, going to the line, 40 times, like scoring, 40 of his 83 points coming off of free throws. So I think everyone's just a little bit sensitive at the moment. But also, we didn't say that about MJ because I don't think that word existed in the 90s. I think that foul baiting has just been a social media concoction. We didn't say that about MJ because social media didn't exist. We didn't say a lot of things about players that we're saying now back in the 90s or early 2000s or surely in the 80s because there wasn't a 24/7 constant flow of discussion that's been happening about so many of these players. So it's like, I don't care that, if SGA is quote unquote foul baiting. I still think that SGA is one of the best, if not the best players in the NBA right now. I don't think there's any player more important to his basketball team than SGA is to the Oklahoma City Thunder. So, but I just think to bring up the Michael Jordan comparison is a little bit on something, is a little bit silly because social media has created so much of this. It doesn't illegitimize SGA. It surely does not illegitimize Michael freaking Jordan. It's just Twitter being Twitter.
Caroline, if I had to ask you, according to Basketball Reference, who holds the NBA record for the most free throws in a single season? All right. Good. Would you have a guess of who you would think would have the most free throws in a single season?
I'm going to go on a limb here and say Michael Jordan.
Jerry West in 1965-66 has the most free throws in a single season. So my question is, would Jerry West foul baiting? You're right. This word never existed, but this problem's always existed.
Yeah.
Like, look, I really don't care if Michael's your GOAT or not your GOAT. Michael pushed off against Utah. I mean, we all know this. Like, Michael shoved the guy through that. And if you don't see the shove, it's because you're blinded by your fan eyes. Like, we've been doing this forever. And the opposite's happened forever. Hack a Shaq was the thing where you just put 47 people on Shaq and you hit him as hard as you could just to make him go to the free throw line. Like, the attempt, Reggie sitting here talking about this, like, Reggie is on something, or on target, I should say, because Reggie used to kick. Like, the number of guys in the NBA that have put that 1 foot out hoping to get a little contact, has it gotten more egregious? Maybe. But realistically, if you go back and, it's not like we're seeing a historic number of free throws we've never seen by anybody that's ever scored in the history of the NBA. This is just people don't love the way SGA plays the game because he's not a physical freak of nature, because he's not somebody that looks like nobody we've ever seen, and because he's not, Steph. So all of a sudden, if all you do is play basketball from mid-range jump shots and get a lot of contact, then people turn around and say you're foul baiting. I don't know. Where Jaylen Brown says we commend players for playing the game the right way, but we give the benefit to those who try to manipulate the game. I just don't think it's basketball. Okay, so every time you drive the lane when you know that you don't really have a good shot, but you're just trying to create contact to create a foul, that's smart basketball because that's been coached as long as I've been alive. Hey, just get in there, get some contact, get to the line. Like, hey, that's a part of strategy to basketball. But when a player one-on-one tries to do it, they're foul baiting. I'm out. I'm out on this entire concept of foul baiting. This is just another reason for people to try and pile on to SGA. The real on target here is that y'all need to get unsensitive with SGA. Just start accepting greatness from SGA and stop trying to fault it. So says I.
Is foul baiting the new word for flopping? Is it
Yeah.
the Gen Z term for flopping?
Well,
Okay, I
it's
can't keep
more
up
like
these days.
it's less flopping and more like I'm going to take the shot, but while I do it, I'm going to contort my body into such a way that you can't avoid but make contact with me. And when you make that contact, I'm getting the call, even though the call might not really be like it's me just sort of diving into somebody to try and make sure that I get the call. I get it, but yeah.
At what point is that just smart basketball?
It seems
like two sides of the same coin to me. Like,
yeah,
it
KOC
goes
disagrees.
against you and your bottom line. That's not.
Yeah, KOC.
Well,
KOC says that's not basketball. But I mean, to me, basketball is basketball. Like if you defenders should be allowed to play defense. Marginal contact shouldn't draw a whistle. A foul's a foul. Like, you don't like it, change the rule books. A foul's a foul. Let's get to the next on target or on something. Thunder Magic game last night. Alex Caruso. All right. Alex Caruso didn't really have a chance to make the play he wanted to play. So he did what everybody would do in that situation. Try to shoey. Not the kind where you drink out of your shoe. No. Instead, he used his shoe to try and block the shot. He didn't have the play, so he used his shoe. He was assessed a tech. What do you think? On target or on something?
Well, I think that Caruso is on something for trying to use his shoe. You know what? I appreciate the creativity here. As a girl who loves a good accessory, I do love the thought process here. I like the creativity. I like the outside of the box thinking, Alex. But is it on target or on something that he was assessed a tech? On target. He should be getting a tech. Like, as much as I appreciate the creativity, you can't do that. You can't just use your shoe. I loved it. It was an awesome social media moment. It's one of those, if we had a one shining moment at the end of the NBA season, I think that should be in there. It's wild and it's quirky, and I do appreciate the idea, but you can't do that. You should be getting a tech for that. You cannot just use your shoe.
You're right. All right. And that's the correct answer. But I also kind of love the shoe. The one thing, too, like, I just kind of wanted to throw the shoe. I just wanted to throw the shoe. And, maybe you hit him with
like
the shoe.
LSU,
but
Florida,
like
2020
Yeah,
style.
100%. 100%. Like,
Yeah.
I got no play here. I'm just going to pick my shoe up and I'm going to throw it at you. Now, obviously, that's not sportsmanlike. But if I'm going to get the tech either way, I might as well throw the shoe. I appreciate the ingenuity here of, hey, I don't have a good shot at it, so I'm at least going to try something. So, look, I don't recommend this for everybody, but I thought it was hysterical. I'm not going to lie. Like, that's one of those moments where I don't have kids, but I see my friends that have kids all the time where sometimes your kid does something that they shouldn't, but you can't help but laugh at it. That's what I felt like we were watching yesterday. It's like, I can't encourage this, but I also don't want to discourage this because I can't stop laughing about it. Let's get another on target on something here. All right. So while Caruso's using his kicks to make a play, it sounds like Kevin Durant would like to kick his feet up, make his teammates do more of the work. Check out what he told a reporter about the constant double teams that the Lakers threw at him the other night. Check this out.
Maybe I got to just get out the way, get in the corner, space the floor out for other guys. And I think just that when I get the ball against certain teams, they just going to settle out and just say, we're just going to double and play a little zone behind it and see what happens. And if we give open shots, that's cool. But maybe I just need to get out the way, be honest, set screens, be ready to catch and shoot, just space the floor for my teammates, It's been happening throughout the season, but, I'm starting to figure out, I think I just need to get out the way and let other guys dribble the ball.
What do you think? Move, get out the way, on target, on something for KD?
Katie is such a crybaby. Let me just say that. Now, I will say, I think he's on target for feeling that way. Like, I don't blame him for feeling that way in the slightest. 100% on target there because Katie's largely been carrying this team. But I think he's on something for addressing it in a press conference. I think that you crossed a line there because Katie says that all of a sudden you're opening up a big time can of worms in that locker room. How do you think Alperen Şengün feels when he hears Katie say that? How do you think Jamari Smith Jr. feels after dropping 22 in that game? How do you think Amen Thompson feels after dropping 19 in that game? Like, how do you think the rest of your team feels when you say those things? When you very openly and obviously are throwing everybody under the bus? Now, look, I think Katie is totally justified in feeling like that, but addressing it that way in a press conference in such a condescending way, like that's in-house conversation. Like, that's a conversation that you have with your coach. That's a conversation that you have behind closed doors of like, look, I need some help here. And we're not going to win a playoff series. We're not going to make a run if it's only me, if I'm constantly getting double teamed. Like, that is a behind the scenes conversation, not some dirty laundry that you air in front of cameras and in front of reporters and letting it aggregate on social media. I get KD feeling that way. I really do. I don't understand, nor do I agree with him addressing it in a press conference setting.
Yeah, I look, I get where he's coming from. I think he's actually kind of on target. But what really hit me when he started talking about this is that the NBA just doesn't need Kevin Durant anymore. Like, the Rockets, whatever, you could take KD out of the game and you give yourself a great shot to win. But how many of us right now are just sitting here saying, oh my God, I do not want to face KD and the Rockets going into these playoffs? Like, do any of us really believe that the Rockets are about to hoist the Larry O.B.? The answer to that is no. And in fact, KD's 37 years old. Are any of us sitting here saying, man, how is the league going to manage when KD steps away from the game? The answer to that is no. In a league where you and I have talked so much of late about the great superstars that have become fundamental, foundational pieces for the NBA, I don't even know that I really think of KD in that way most of the time. We spent the other day talking about how many players there are right now that truly could be the face of the league. They don't have one. They don't need one because they have so many great players. You know who we never talked about in that entire conversation? Kevin Durant, right? Like, what's amazing to me is that as good as Kevin Durant has been, and I'm not one that ever put an asterisk next to any of his championships. I don't care how he wins. I don't care that he went to Golden State. Great. Go win. I've never been a KD hater. I'm not a KD hater now. I'm just a KD realist. Like, if KD stepped away from the NBA at the end of the season, would we spend all next year saying, man, do I miss Kevin Durant in the NBA? The answer is no. There are better superstars. There are better players. There are better everything across the board. And even as good as he still is, I'm not saying that KD can't be a huge contributor. Even as good as KD still is, does he really, for his basketball, does he move the needle? Does the entire world stop because KD is about to play in a basketball game? Does the entire world say, like we do right now, we say, man, I don't want to take on Wemby. Oh, I don't want to take on OKC. I don't want to take on Shea, right? I don't want to take on, we can go up and down. I don't want to take on Denver. Man, I don't want to take on Jokic. Is anybody right now saying, oh my God, I don't want to take on these Rockets? KD's a nightmare. That's just, it's not who he is anymore. Like, maybe if he became a role player, he'd be happier.
KD still is a nightmare.
Is he?
Maybe
He's
we
not a
don't view the
championship
Rockets
nightmare?
as a nightmare, but I think that KD is a nightmare. Like, to me, KD's still a draw for me. You know, when I live in Charlotte, when the Hornets played the Rockets, I was like, I want to watch that game. Like, whether we go or whether we just watch it at home, like, I want to watch KD. He's still a superstar. Is he KD in his prime? No, but I don't think that he necessarily needs to be the player that he was in his prime in order to still be a draw. Like, there's some NKOTB, some new kids on the block that maybe are bigger draws than KD right now. Like a Wemby, like what Luka's doing with the Lakers, like Ant in Minnesota. Like, KD's not a spring chicken. He's not a new superstar in the league, but I think he's still disruptive, and I think he's still a nightmare.
I think your new kids on the block example is perfect. Like, he is the new kids on the block. Like, he still tours. People still go see him. New kids on the block still sell tickets in Vegas. People love to go see NKOTP. It's fine. If you love it, you love it. But the whole world isn't stopping for KD. KD, the brand, is more significant than KD, the basketball player now. KD, the basketball player, is not single-handedly going to win anybody a championship. KD, the basketball player, is part of Voltron. He needs a bunch of things around him. And so, for me, in this world, like, I just feel like I think we've moved past the KD era. I'm going to say it. I think we've moved past the KD era. As great as KD is. Doesn't mean he sucks. I'm not saying that.
You're going to get tweeted at by an anonymous account today.
Yeah, like 73 anonymous accounts. All right, coming up. From everything, I'm speaking of great players. Matt Leinart, a great player, got his number in the rafters, but not taking it out of the rafters anytime soon. We'll tell you about it next on Yahoo Sports Daily.
You had 27 points in your third game. What do you remember from that night?
Oh man, it was great. Once the first one drops, like I was like, okay, we're good to go. Then the second one, then the third one, and then you get to like this mode where it's kind of like unconscious. Like, it feels like practice in a way. It was just like every time I shot it, it was like I was outside playing on just like my mini hoop. You know what I mean? Outside in the front yard. It also, I think, gave my teammates confidence too. Like, damn, he probably can shoot. You know what I mean? So we should get him the ball.
What do you think is your best route, and what is your favorite route to run?
I would feel like it's probably like a stop route or something.
That's a good answer.
Like a stop route. My favorite route to run, I like to run digs.
This is from early in your rookie season. That was the best one there, was the dig route. So I think you're doing pretty well there. I like that. Okay, good answer. That was very validating for me personally, and I'm glad that you feel that way. So, okay, you mentioned...
I gave you validation.
You gave me validation, bro.
Like that.
Bro, that's what this is all about.
I like that.
What was your impression of him? Do you feel like you have a friendship with Giannis now?
I feel like he was just my friend. Like, I didn't even see him as just a basketball player, Giannis Antetokounmpo. I was just like that's just my guy. Cause we were just chilling. Like, he took me to his home. He took me to his first we did his first dunk in his neighborhood. So like, he was just showing me around. And I think we still check up on each other.
Very
I just need to go to one of his games, which I promised him.
Matt Leinart, whose number 11 jersey was retired by USC, says the school has asked him to unretire his jersey for recruits who wanted it, but he won't agree to it. He did have the caveat that if any of his kids ever played at USC, he would consider it for his kids. He would do it for his kids. But for everybody else, Caroline, he made it clear that he gets asked all the time for five-star recruits that want that number, and his answer is, we don't know if this kid's going to play 1 year and go somewhere else. I'm not taking my number out of the rafters for somebody that hasn't done anything yet. How do you feel about this?
Nor should he. He does not need to give up his number. That is his number. He earned it. He deserved the right to have his number retired. And whether he knows 1000% for certain that that player is going to stay at USC for 4 years or not, it doesn't matter. I don't think the circumstances have to matter. Who it is, how long they're going to play there, how great of a high school player they were, how many stars are attached to their name. That is Matt Leinart's right. He has every right to say yes or no. He has every right to tell even the greatest high school football player that has ever played, that's going to play at USC, that wants to wear jersey number 11, no, that's mine. I have no problem with that whatsoever. He earned that right. He deserved that right. He has right of first refusal or last refusal to say, no, you're not going to wear my jersey number, because it's mine. That is mine. You cannot have it. I have no problem with it whatsoever. In fact, when Cam Ward was drafted by the Tennessee Titans, he asked Warren Moon if he could wear his number, and Warren Moon said yes. And I said, you know what? If I was Warren Moon, I would have said no, because Warren Moon is a legend within the Oilers and Titans franchise and organization. Warren Moon is the only black quarterback in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. That means something. He deserves to have his number memorialized. He has earned the right to have nobody else wear that number. So I don't think it's petty by Matt Leinart. I don't think it's immature of Matt Leinart. I don't think it's silly of Matt Leinart. It is his right. And I'm glad that he's putting his foot down.
I think part of this too is, even from the pro experience, like you mentioned, what if Cam Ward turns out to just be a really bad quarterback for a long time? For a whole generation, they'll see that number 1, and then they'll look up in the rafters at Warren Moon, and it's almost confusing, right? Like, getting your jersey retired is part about what you've done. It's part about who you've meant to a program, and it's also just about cementing the legacy of that number. So while I don't necessarily love the retirement of jersey numbers in general, part of the charm of it, I think, is that when you're at a stadium, an arena, you see it there, you're there with your kids, you're like, oh yeah, that number is retired because of this player who did this. And it's a way to share generational memories of fandom with a particular team. that becomes more and more complicated if you're in a situation where you're taking a number out of retirement to then put it back in retirement to then ask a whole generation to forget the person that didn't do it justice. And especially in the modern college football world where there is absolutely no loyalty year to year but from players or teams, either side, where everybody's basically mercenaries in the wild, wild west. Why in the hell would I give up my number to somebody because they want that opportunity to play with it, knowing that, again, to Matt's point, they haven't accomplished anything yet? Tell me that somebody goes to USC and plays for 4 years and then all of a sudden wins and they want to have their number immortalized. I get that. But if you're telling me that a high school kid wants to come in and take Matt Leinart's number out of the rafters for what? There's no way that I could do it. Now, I do think that overall, though, Caroline, the concept of retired numbers is interesting because I like it. I understand that it's an important tie back to history, but it gets to be a lot sometimes. And it's just kind of weird. Like, do we care enough about that history to make retired numbers really matter? Do you love retired numbers?
Yes. I love retired numbers. If you have a lot of numbers that are retired, then congratulations. You are a fan of a team that has a whole lot of success and a lot of history. I think we need a way to immortalize individual players and what they mean to their franchises and to be able to see that on any given day in your stadium. You know, you have Hall of Fames. Yes, of course. That's more of a ceremony to recognize that individual person. It's not something that you walk by in the stadium or something that you see on any given day. When a jersey is retired, when a number is retired, you see that cemented when you're sitting and watching a game. We have to have a way to honor the history and to remember the history of franchises. I'll go back to, I'm born and raised in St. Louis. The St. Louis Cardinals were my first love and one of my favorite teams in the whole entire world. I would go to St. Louis Cardinals games and I would look at the numbers in the outfield. 6 for Stan Musial, number 1 for Ozzie Smith. And I would ask my dad, what does that mean? And we went number by number. And I learned about the history of the St. Louis Cardinals sitting in the stadium and looking at those numbers. So now I know what that means. And I can honor the history of the team that I love so much. And that ties me to the team and the franchise even more. Now I have even more of a connection, not just to the current team that's wearing a St. Louis Cardinals jersey, but I have a connection to the players that played long before I was born and even before my parents were born. I think that's special. I think that's part of what makes sports and fandom so special. It's not just the fact that you're going to spend money on a jersey, and it's not just the fact that you're going to be sitting down, whether it's at the game or at home on your couch watching their games. It's the fact that you have a connection to that city, to that franchise, and whatever it represents. I love it, and it means something to me, and maybe that's a little warm and fuzzy, for anyone else, but I like it, and I think we should continue to retire numbers, and when numbers are retired, they stay retired.
Yeah, I think what's interesting is because my fandom comes from the opposite standpoint, right? Like the Raiders have 30 Pro Football Hall of Famers, but they don't retire numbers. They've never retired numbers. So no Raider in history has their number retired. So to me, I always sort of grew up with this concept of like the honor of wearing somebody's number and then trying to live up to that number is part of what was always sort of blasted in my face as part of the continuing of the legacy. What did that player mean before to the organization? How can you honor that by wearing their number now? I grew up a fan of a team that didn't retire numbers. Now, the Yankees obviously are the sort of the opposite extreme. They retire basically everybody's number, and it works for them. I think there's a fine line on all of it. At the end of the day, it truly is about history. And that's the one thing, however we get our history, the thing that really galvanizes fans for generations isn't just being a fan in this moment. What galvanizes fans is having, your great-grandparents and your parents and you and your kids are all together watching players and teams that you've loved forever. That's why we do what we do on this show, and that's why so many fans are fans of what they're fans of. And, the opportunity to go back and read that history from retired numbers, I see. It's just a different approach for me. I would have no problem unretired, like having no retired numbers, but I understand why so many people take the opposite approach. We will be here all week. Obviously, the NCAA tournament getting underway. Make sure that you're out there hanging out with us. Make sure you get your brackets filled out. Still got a little bit of time. We'll be back right here tomorrow tomorrow at 9 a.m. She's Caroline Fenton. I'm Jason Fitz. Thanks for watching. Come watch us again tomorrow.